What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. It's a tough day in the association today, but we're still getting to work on the grind, trying to find the winners. I have Tyler and AP with me. AP, I was saying right before we went on, I'm glad to have you here today. This might be a day where there's more of an edge in daily fantasy than just betting the sides and totals. But how are you feeling about today and the NBA season wrapping up in general?
I feel good about the NBA wrapping up. I don't feel good yet about this slate. It's always tricky. We were on, like, I felt so confident yesterday, and then, Sabonis, it didn't get hurt, but they were cautious with him.
Mhm.
He's jumping up and down on the sideline, at the scores table, wants to check in, and his coach isn't letting him, and so. It just, that hurt me. Outside of that, like I bubbled. So I love the build where I was at DFS wise, but you can't tilt these last few days. They're going to be tricky for sure.
Yeah, and that's very interesting with Sabonis because we've already talked about it on the show. And if my guy West Coast Gems in the chat, he's going to laugh because I've talked a lot about the coaching issues between the Pacers and the players. And I think I mentioned with Hoop on Monday, or no, it was with Travis on Tuesday, that one of Sabonis's issues is he hates having to switch in Bjorken's defensive scheme. So now adding into this, we'll see if he is a one and done coach because I think that might be a possibility. Tyler, I'm so glad to have you here today because I think the props are going to be where it's at. These sides and totals look tough. We have all playoff teams versus all lottery teams today. Could be a bunch of blowouts. We'll see who hangs tough, who's scrappy. It's really tough to prognosticate. How are you feeling about today, Tyler?
Today is tricky. Even in the props market, because you look at this injury report, we don't know who's playing for anybody.
Yeah.
So half the games don't even have props listed for them.
Yeah, so basically, hopefully for the members, when you do find one, Tyler will drop his plays in the Discord. Maybe a day with no sheet plays for me. Let's discuss it all. And as a little bonus, we're going to go over the whole weekend on this show today. Tyler and I will not be here tomorrow because there's only one game we're talking about. And we will do that today, and that's the Bucks and the Heat. And we'll do a quick little preview of Sunday, especially the Grizzlies Warriors. But let's dive right into today. Oh, quick reminder, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and away we go. The first game we got is the Cleveland Cavaliers +8 against the Washington Wizards. We know we've talked about it. The Cavaliers are already eliminated. Technically, though, the loss would help their lottery position, so a little bit of incentive to lose here. A Wizards win locks them into the playing game and would eliminate the Chicago Bulls. So there's definitely some incentive there. Our guy Bradley Beal's still out. He's out for sure. Hartenstein's out. Lamar Stevens is out. And it's tough to cap these games. Even Darius Garland's questionable. Cedi Osman's questionable. Unfortunately, I would think that if they're able to go, that they would go because it seems like Garland's development is still more important than maybe getting that extra 5% in the lottery, but we will see how they approach it. AP, what do you think of this game? This is one of the few games I actually was thinking of making a stand on, and I like the Wizards if I play it.
So here's my take on this game. I think everyone's going to be on the Wizards. The pressure's on they got to get the win, but it's look at what the Cavs did against the Celtics. Now it's a Celtics team that's an absolute disaster right now, but still they went out, got the win over these guys. Kevin Love put up a monster game. Obviously, there still is some individual motivation on this team, which is a concern. They've been able to slow down Russ. It's like the only team for some, like, I've just been watching it DFS wise. The last three times he's played him, he hasn't put up those elite numbers we're used to seeing. So I'm leaning the Cavs here. I think 8 points. I think it's going to stay close this game. I get it. Everyone's going to be talking about it. Wizards are going to smash. They're going to get the win. They're going to get locked in into the playing games, but I think it's a close game, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Cavs are right there up until the very end of this game.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, and that's why I was kind of hesitant to get involved here. Normally, loading 8 points with a team like the Wizards, they're 33 and 38 for a reason. I don't want to argue about who's their best player, but they're missing one of their definitive top two players. And this just hasn't been a team that's been able to defend. So the idea that if Garland does play, and of course Colin Sexton's going to do well, it's not that crazy that they can score and keep up with them. Maybe a look to the over is better than even taking a side. What did you think of the total of 228.5 AP?
I'm staying away from the total just because the Cavs are one team. Usually, most teams, when you're playing a high-paced team like the Wizards or the Pacers, teams kind of adjust and they'll play at that high pace. The Cavs are still one of those teams that just like slows it down, especially with Sexton in there. Like I feel like he dribbles around. He likes that ISO ball. But still, I think they're going to be pressuring him to get Kevin Love, Okoro, and some of these guys more involved. So I don't. I don't know. I'm off the total here. I don't really like it either way.
All right. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this game? Wizards -8, total 228.5.
I mean, with the Wizards winning this one, they clinch their berth in the playing game.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think they win this game. Now, 8 seems like a lot of points. I would be on the Cleveland side here, but I need to know Garland's status first. If Garland plays, I'd be glad to take Cleveland plus the 8. If he's out, I mean, the team looks so bad when those two guards aren't together. They could barely break 100 points, so I'd probably take the Wizards if he's out.
All right. Yeah, and we've talked about it before. When one of the creator guards sits, the other one's just too easy to key on for a defense. An issue, though, is Scott Brooks even smart enough or does he even care to design a defense for that? So against other teams, they're able to shut Cleveland down pretty easily. I think Scott Brooks is one of the worst coaches in the league and doesn't really do very many adjustments in game. So that would be something to look at as well. But two guys that like the dog to start. All right. See, they're not scared. They didn't get killed by that Gary Trent injury news like I did yesterday. I took 10.5. They lost by 12. You just have a feeling that if Gary Trent plays, that game covers. But let's move on to the next game. The Denver Nuggets now -8.5. This was 10. I'm assuming we got some injury news in the time that I looked at this an hour ago, and when we logged on right now, the Pistons are getting 8.5 at home. The total is 216. A quick look at this report. I mean, this is just crazy. Monte Morris is probable. Paul Millsap doubtful. Barton doubtful. Jokic questionable. Porter questionable, Plumlee out, Frank Jackson out, Corey Joseph out, Wayne Ellington out, Isaiah Stewart out, which is weird because he's one of the younger guys they like to develop. Jeremy Grant out, not a surprise. Diallo's questionable, and Rodney Magruder's out. So the typical deal with the Pistons are going with most of the younger guys, except for Stewart. Stewart being out, I can't back the Pistons with Isaiah Stewart out. At the same time, Jokic and Porter questionable. We had talked before we went on, Tyler, that we didn't think that Denver really had much incentive to try and go in that 3 seed. I think the 1-4-5-8 is going to be a lot nicer side than the 2-3-7 side. So I can't get involved in this game at all. I can't take the Pistons and I can't take the Nuggets. AP, what are you thinking? And maybe who should we spend up for in this game? Should we be targeting some Pistons here as they run with this limited roster?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we talked about yesterday was Malone coming out and saying that he wants to, mix and match and play around with some of these rotations. We saw JaVale McGee start alongside Jokic. We had a big boy starting lineup there with McGee, Gordon, Jokic, and then Rivers and Campazzo. I was surprised by his minutes. One thing I overlooked against the Wolves is – because I faded Jokic yesterday. But one thing I overlooked was, how many minutes would he play? Because if he's playing at least 25, 26 against Minnesota, he could put up a triple-double in those type of minutes. And so he played the first whole quarter. He played almost the whole third quarter, and he played a little over 32 minutes. So not quite as full rotation. I was surprised for that. I thought he was going to be playing 27 to 30. So I don't really know. I keep an eye on what they do. If he plays and starts, how do you not assume another 30 minutes? I don't, unless the game gets completely out of hand. It's a tough spot because he's 11K DFS-wise. Betting-wise, the only way I'm taking the Pistons, the only way I'm taking any side here would be the Pistons plus their 8.5 or whatever 9 they're getting. If Jokic is out and if a couple of other these pieces are out, one thing that the Nuggets are really struggling with is scoring the basketball when Jokic is on the sideline. So, in my opinion, I don't know why they're playing him. I would want a rested Jokic going into the playoffs because he's going to have to play bubble-type numbers. When him and Murray were playing 40 minutes a game, because they're not going to be able to score without him out there. Unless MPJ really takes over when Jokic is on the sideline. But I'm torn here. I'm waiting for the news off this game until we get more news.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one to cap. Tyler, did you have any thoughts on it? I mean, with Jokic and Porter questionable, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can't even really. I wouldn't invest any money in this game and feel good about it with
all
all
right.
the
So
news.
just
So it's
because we have
just
to throw some content out there, let's say that they're both ruled out. Porter Jr. and Jokic are both ruled out. You got to give me a prop. Whose points over would you hit?
probably Monty Morris.
Monte Morris.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
probably
like
be
He's
our
Monty.
guy.
probable. All right. this is what the NBA has done to us this year. What's up?
DFS wise, we could get JaVale McGee.
Mm-hmm.
He's very cheap against Okafor. Two
Oh yeah.
dusty old guys that they can put they can stuff the stat sheet if they get going and if they get the minutes. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, I really think that DFS is the way to go today. These sides and totals are so tough. We'll give you leans here. I don't even take the side, but if we're gonna lean here, I lean the over in that Cavs game. I like the under here. I really think the Pistons are gonna have problems putting up points, and I'm really surprised that Isaiah Stewart's sitting out of all those young guys. He seems like he could use a little development. Let's go on to this next game. The Utah Jazz are minus 14.5 in Oklahoma City, playing the Thunder, plus 14.5. The total's 221. The Thunder, they played tight. They proved that they got some heart earlier in the year. Then they've gone on full tank mode. They have the worst net rating in the league and like minus 10.5 points per game on average, and that is heavily skewed because it was probably only -5 2 to 3 months ago. So really, they're close to like minus 15 these last 2 months. They've just been getting blown out. They've sat everyone. Horford's out for the year. So looks like Mike Conley's questionable. Maybe try and get him back in. Lou Dort's out. That's what I love to see for the Thunder. 14.5 is a big number. I don't see how you can take the dog, though. Seems like lay it or don't play it. I'll probably lay off. AP, what do you think?
Yeah, usually I stay away from big numbers like this, but I don't hate the 14.5. The Jazz are still rolling out Ingles, Bojan, and some of these guys for decent minutes. And then their second, the guys off the bench are way better than this OKC team. So I don't actually like the Thunder have gotten blown out just so many times. I just don't see how the Jazz don't win by 20 here. I mean, it's not a bet I want to make, but if I was forced to bet a side here, a side or total, I would take the Jazz minus 14.5.
And as far as the Jazz go, there's no way you can roster these guys in DFS because there's just the potential that they all get 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty much off of them. You could maybe make a case for like Ingles or one of these guys, but I don't need to go there because of how bad OKC is. Like it's just they are so bad right now. And the Jazz are deep. You're going to see even in a blowout type situation, the second unit guys are going to be sitting because they got all these. They got their real third string guys that get all the blowout runs. So. Definitely off.
Yeah, Snyder's a guy that definitely uses his whole bench. You can't just there's an old joke.
Trent Forrest and all those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. We had an old joke when I was a kid. There's this guy named Ben Guillory at the end of the Kings bench, and we all assumed that he just wore his nightclub clothes out under the warm-up because he never was getting in the game. He just wanted to be ready to go right afterwards. All right, Tyler, what are you thinking about this game? Minus 14.5, total of 221. Maybe a prop here, but like we said, it's tough because I don't know if we can count on these Utah players getting minutes.
Yeah, that's my only worry here is, I know we don't see a ton of them Utah guys on the injury report right now, but it wouldn't surprise me to see like Bogdanovich come up with maybe like a knee injury and he's all of a sudden listed questionable. And same thing with Rudy, and then none of them play. But maybe target an Ingles points prop if you can get it below 15.
Mm-hmm.
He should be able to torch this team, and if he hits a couple of threes, that 15 is definitely in play. But other than that, if you had to pin me down, probably Utah minus the 14.5. I just can't back that terrible, terrible OKC team.
Yeah, it's an obvious lay it or don't play it. It's really just how much you want to get involved. I mean, we're here to give out betting advice, and I don't think there's anything wrong with taking your girlfriend out to dinner tonight. Doing some family time because next Friday night you're going to be wanting to be in front of that TV. So
Yep.
build up that equity now, right? And one thing that we do need to comment on, Travis Mangone in the comments loves the backwards hat, AP. He thinks that you look like a real fantasy tout now. So we got some
Hey, there we
flashing
go.
advice from the
Hey,
man
let's
goat.
go.
Yeah, West Coast Gem likes to do. I almost pulled mine out when I saw you had yours on, but we were a little late to keep going.
All
Let's
could have been sporting the backwards hats.
yeah, we'll do that
Snapbacks.
we'll do that for next week. Let's jump into another game with a ridiculous spread. The Philadelphia 76ers host the Orlando Magic minus 13.5. The Sixers, of course, got blown out by Miami last night. They still need one win in order to clinch that number one seed. Most likely they get it tonight. When I'm looking at this injury report, Dwight Howard has been suspended, Embiid's questionable, Tybalt's questionable, and Mo Bamba is questionable. So, kind of the same situation, right? Lay it or don't play it. Like I've got burned trying to be cute and backing these bad teams. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I
AP, what
mean,
do you think?
you just
Are we
you just
laying it?
can't.
Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was just agreeing with you. You can't back these bad teams right now.
Yeah. So, lay it or don't play it. What do you think, AP?
I just think, all right, so they do need one more game to lock it in. That's a scenario. Okay. Like doesn't
They
this
need
just
a
seem
they
like
need a win, or they need Brooklyn to lose a game.
Yeah.
okay. Doesn't this just seem like the spot where they come out and absolutely smash them? They're not. I don't ever feel good about laying this type of, this big of a number, but I don't see how the Magic keep this close. I think the 76ers come out and smash them. DFS wise, all right, here's another thing. Tonight, you're like, if we get, so Embiid, just looking at his rotation yesterday, he had somewhat of a normal rotation going against Miami. If he plays tonight, um, I think that would make, I think he's going to get at least 25, 28, maybe 30 minutes if they're within striking distance. So the other thing about Embiid too is if he gets 27, 28 minutes, he can easily put up 50 plus if he's motivated. That's what it comes down to. And if they're just motivated guys, let's come out, let's fire for one, let's just lock up this number one seed. Let's just smash them, embarrass them. He could put up enough on a slate like this. So he's a guy I'm looking at in DFS formats for sure. But there's going to be lots of these value centers in play, and you can only play him at that center or the utility spot. So
Right.
it's there's going to be some interesting decisions to be made around some of these players for sure.
I think the great thing about the DFS tonight is there's no like clear cut like guys that are going to be at 60%. I think there's going to be a variety of builds, and I don't think it's going to be that hard to be different. Whereas some nights, it's just like Westbrook and the Raptors, right? And everybody's got them. Tyler, we had talked about some of these games before with the guys needing the number one seed. Maybe should we attack this from a first half angle? You grab the Sixers first half at the reduced number.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind
like
that.
the full game there.
We'll get it, probably rated about 8.5, somewhere in there. So, I mean,
like that.
Yeah, minus 8.5 for the Jazz first half, -8 for the Sixers.
Yeah, I mean, they should definitely be up double digits at halftime. My only worry is I'd want to make sure Embiid plays, because if he sits, Howard's already suspended, so they're going to be playing pretty small. So
is Tony Bradley their third string? I always get mixed up. Is he on the Sixers or on the Jazz right now?
I think he's on the Sixers.
When he was on the Jazz last year?
Yeah, he was on the Jazz last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
is he hurt? I don't.
Who, Bradley?
Yeah.
I think he's just been inactive. I don't think they dress him. I know they're saying Tony Bradley's on OKC in the chat, so he bounced around again.
Yeah, he's OKC because they got Gary Clark, they got Mike Scott, who sometimes rotates in. They got Paul Reed and Anthony Tolliver that are all kind of, front court guys, is what I'm seeing. They got a lot of bodies.
Yeah, they got tons of bodies.
They got a ton of bodies. Jeez.
All right. Well, let's just move on to the next game. Like I said, we're here to give gambling advice, and there you don't need to play every game, and you don't need to play any game. So unless you feel comfortable and really feel like you have an edge, this is a very tough NBA day. There's no shame in saying these lines are tight. These lines are good. And they're tough to bet into. Another one I think that's tough to bet into is the Los Angeles Clippers -10 against the Houston Rockets. And why is it tough? Let's refer again to the injury report. Ibaka probable. Wow. Okay. So, and we had talked about that beforehand, Tyler. I was like, what's their plan with Ibaka? Is he just going to come in after not playing for 3 months in the playoffs? I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some run. It seems like he should get some run before a playoff intensity basketball. Marcus Morris questionable. Kawhi Leonard doubtful. I don't expect him to play. Amir Coffey questionable. I can't think of any significant Amir Coffey minutes I've watched this year. I'm sorry. I will do better before next show. Paul George is doubtful. I don't expect him to play. And on the Houston side, DJ Wilson, Daniel House, Kevin Porter, Christian Wood, Avery Bradley, all out. Houston's catching 10. I mean, I guess if I had to pick a dog, this might be the spot. I don't know.
Yep.
What do you think, AP?
Yeah, this is the dog I like on the slate. If you just look at it, like this Rockets team, Kelly Olynyk, Kenyon Martin, Kyrie Thomas, these guys, or Kyrie Thomas, Jason Tate, they're and even Amari Brooks, they're trying. Like, so they lost by 2 to the Lakers. The Blazers game was respectably close. They battled with the Jazz and the Bucks. So I like the Rockets here. I mean, it can't feel good to lose. These guys individually are all trying to prove, their stuff out there. So I think they're going to be plenty motivated. I think we're going to see a ton of guys on the Clippers side rest, and I like 10 points. I think this number maybe drops a little bit more once guys like Paul George and Leonard are ruled out. But if they play, then it's a disaster. So I like it on the basis that I don't think Paul George and Leonard are going to play.
And the results are trending in your direction. The Rockets have covered their last 4 games, all double-digit spreads. Tyler, did you want to jump in on this one?
I second everything he just said about this team being the dog to back today.
Yeah.
I mean, them 2 guys get pulled off the floor for the Clippers. I mean, these rosters become pretty similar. They're both pretty bad, so.
If they do, who's the high scorer on the Clippers?
Probably Luke Kennard. If I had to just take a random guess, I mean, you don't know who's going to get the shots for him.
So
Reggie Jackson.
You'll like this. Here's who I've listed on the play. The playbook isn't posted yet, but I'm working on it. Here's the guys I have listed so far in the Clippers: Luke Kennard, Reggie Jackson, DeMarcus Cousins, and Terrence Mann are the 4 that I'm looking at. But I'm expecting a lot more news to come. So wouldn't this just be the spot where they just let Boogie go?
Yeah.
I mean, if there was ever a spot just to Ibaka being probable or whatever kind of hurts that, but what? Just it makes sense to just kind of let Boogie run in one of these games.
I'd love to catch a Terrence Mann points prop under 10. I think he definitely gets into double digits today because he's going to get all the Kawhi and Paul George minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, Boogie's lucky that you don't lose DFS points every time you give up a basket because he'd probably be negative every game.
But yeah, he really would.
But for DFS, I think he may. I always overlook. I forgot that he went to that team. He's off my radar like as an NBA player right now, just because I can't see him making a significant contribution in the playoffs, but they're going to go ahead and make that gamble, and more respect to them. The Sacramento Kings are in Memphis playing the Grizzlies again. They covered last night. That was kind of fun. A friend and I, we kind of just did a late fun bet on that game, and that worked out well for us. But that game eliminated them, right? And now, basically, for Memphis, this game doesn't matter at all because basically it's going to come down to the tiebreak, which will be decided on Sunday, and we're going to do a quick preview of that game before we go. But for tonight's game, it doesn't matter at all, and Fox is doubtful, Barnes is doubtful, Holmes is doubtful, Bagley's doubtful, Dylan Brooks doubtful, Valanciunas doubtful, John Morant doubtful, Kyle Anderson doubtful, Jaren Jackson doubtful, Grayson Allen is out. Sounds like a G League game to me. Tyler, you've been up on your NBA reserves. How do we cap this one?
I mean, this one's tough. As we speak right now, Denver's rolling out all their guys. There goes Campazzo. There goes Paul Millsap. There goes Aaron Gordon. So, I mean, you're going to get G League team in that one. But, I mean,
all right.
This game, I think, is going to be weird.
Early. Usually everything goes off the board at 10:30. They did it at 10:24. You got to love it.
Yeah, this Memphis game is going to be weird. I mean, Memphis's bench has been played very well this year. And it looks like you're going to get the whole bench unit here because I don't think any of them starters play. And, I mean, I want to know because it's showing Fox is doubtful now. He's not fully listed out, so he could be back for these last two games. If he's back, I may take a stab at Sacramento here. I mean, just like you said, Memphis has nothing to play for here. He steps back on the floor. I mean, he's going to want to win before he goes home for the year.
I mean, he's out with COVID. It's not like it's a lingering sprained ankle or a shoulder where they'd have something with caution on it. I don't really see any reason to hold him out. So, I mean, I guess there's a chance he could play here. I really don't know what they do. I didn't drive around this morning. I didn't hear what the local Sacramento radio guys were saying about the game. Yeah, I mean, I liked the spot last night. I'm just worried that they have that lit down. They're officially eliminated after last night. I mean,
Denver rolls out all those guys, and then Jokic gets a probable tag. What do they do? Want to get their best player hurt? On top of
I don't know what they're doing. Like he's got the MVP no matter what, right?
Yeah, it's like you can't lose the MVP.
Games, he's still the MVP.
You can't move up in the seeding.
Yeah, but Malone is so square in some of those spots. Like he could believe in his mind that like maybe Jokic doesn't have it locked up for some reason, and he's trying to get it for him. Like who knows what that guy's thinking? Like why? I don't see why you would play him. Played 32 minutes last night, back to back. Interesting spot for sure.
The only thing is the guys that will like the play right now. You're Denver. You're number 4. You get a week off for sure. It starts Sunday. Your last game Sunday. Your earliest next game could be Saturday. It's the only thing that I would think as like a reason to play him. But it just seems. I mean, I've joked about it before. The good thing about Jokic is he doesn't jump, so he can't sprain an ankle, right? But. Yeah, that's a really interesting situation. I just think I wouldn't even risk it, especially after the issues they've had with Jamal Murray. They played, the second longest of any of the teams last year. We'll see how that turns out with everybody being rolled out. Tyler, maybe I can head down to the arena. Maybe they'll let me sit up and run and get some run here tonight. The Toronto Raptors, who let me down last night by scratching Gary Trent Jr. after I had well-crafted an article explaining why they could keep the game close. They did keep the game close. Fortunately, it fell not in the 10.5 here. Now they're plus 14 against the Mavericks. And it's going to be the same people out, although they're doing the same thing to me. I don't see Gary Trent on this list, but I wonder if they're going to pull him late again. The only one out for Dallas is Maxi Kleber. 14's a tough number to lay, especially with the team that I don't trust like Dallas. What do you think, AP?
Yeah, so real quick, do the Mavericks they need a win here, right? I'm just looking at it.
Technically, they need to. If they win, they clinch non-play-in, and it would keep them ahead of Portland being able to overtake them.
I mean, Mavericks are going to win. I just don't know by how much. Mm-hmm. I'm staying away from this game. Okay. Raptors, they got a pretty ugly rotation going on right now. I mean, we saw Stanley Johnson have the game of his life yesterday. Took 22 shots. Yeah. I mean, 22 shots, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. That is what a game from Stanley Johnson. And I really wonder if people chase that because I don't like. So DFS, I'll talk about this DFS wise. Even if some of these guys become viable from a price standpoint, I still don't like attacking this Mavericks team. I don't know what it is. It just seems like Carlisle has them always playing decent on defense, where they're at least limiting peripheral stats, scoring opportunities and stuff. And so you see players bust all the time against this Mavericks team. So I'm going to be under on the Raptors pretty much in all formats. I'm going to be under on the Mavericks outside of Luka. I think this is a fine Luka, just like raw points night. If he gets 28, 30 minutes, I think he could get you 55, and that could be enough for sure in DFS.
So you think Luka is a good spend up option? Because that was a question I was going to ask when I prepped up this game.
If you want, you're going to be able to play Russ and Luka. Probably there's going to be so much value out there. It really depends on what you want to do.
So Russ
tonight.
is an auto lock, right? I mean, just there's no reason to
He's going to
debate
be
it.
very popular. I mean, price doesn't really matter. He's 12.8, but still, there's going to be so much cheap value that it just doesn't matter.
Right.
In tournaments, if you want to get different, if you want to play the angle that for some reason this Cavs team has been able to like limit him from having these monster games, I don't know what it is. I'm probably not fading Russ, but if you wanted to get different, that would be one way to get different. But there's going to be so much cheap value that goes off tonight that even if Russ gets you 55, 60, I think it could be enough.
Yeah, that'll be definitely fun. So interesting to see if Luka ends up being in the winning lineup tonight. A good possibility he is. The last game on tonight's card that we'll talk about is the New Orleans Pelicans. They are +2 now to the Golden State Warriors. You could have got a huge number earlier, but the Warriors they haven't officially done it, but let's be honest. This game doesn't matter. They're getting ready for Sunday. I expect all these guys to sit. So Green's doubtful. Kevin Looney's doubtful. Wiggins is doubtful. Curry's doubtful. Kent Bazemore, who had that fun back and forth with Bradley Beal, is questionable. Michael Mulder's questionable. Eric Pascal will play. A surprise on the New Orleans side, Brandon Ingram is questionable. Steven Adams is questionable. I thought for sure those guys would be shut down for the year. I'm not really sure how to approach this. I would think that if Ingram and Adams play, maybe a little value on the Pelicans. What do you think, AP?
Oh, they're not playing. There's no way those guys are playing. I wish I could bet on if they're playing or not because I don't think there's any chance.
I'm surprised they didn't just rule them out for the year.
Play either.
Why did they even put them on the report then?
I thought there was something that came out that said Zion and Ingram were going to be inactive for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I thought so too. And Zion is listed as out for the year. If you go, it just says out for the year. He's done. They don't even put him on Basketball Monster anymore. But Ingram popped up as questionable today, which threw me off.
Yeah. So Adams has been questionable every single slate the Pelicans are on for 2 weeks straight now and hasn't played. So
yeah,
I'm confident he's not playing tonight. I'm confident Ingram. I think we get little G League face-off between, Michael Mulder and Jordan Poole and Nico Mannion against Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Najee Marshall and Kira Lewis. So it'll be a fun game that we can find some cheap gyms in for DFS purposes for sure.
Yeah, this should be a great game for DFS. Jackson Hayes, any interest there? Will he get loose against this weak Warriors front court?
Yeah, the problem is Hayes and Hernan Gomez are splitting minutes right down the middle. Whereas we should see Alexander Walker get quite a bit of run here. He's a great play, too cheap. Kira Lewis should rotate into the rotation, get good minutes, and same with Najee Marshall. So I like Hernan Gomez and Jackson Hayes, but I do think we'll have possibly some cheaper, better center options that get more minutes.
All right, Tyler, what do you think of this game? So why would they even put Ingram on the? They're just messing with me, aren't they, Tyler?
Yeah, so you're getting too into it too much.
Yeah,
he's not playing.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Can I take my Cavs side back?
Kevin Love's out.
Does that even hurt the team though?
Well, I mean, he looked good last game, so maybe
that's true. He's hit that phase of his career, and I think all older NBA players go through it, where they can show you that their old self won in every 3 night. I remember Dwayne Wade towards the end was the same way. It's 2 nights he would just be like, "This guy's terrible. He's washed," and then he'd drop 36 and completely control a game. I think Love's at that phase of his career. 33% of the time he can be an effective offensive player. He's so bad defensively, though. I don't know if I'd really even downgrade the team with him being out, especially if Garland plays, because I like their creation at this point a little better. So that goes through today's slate, but we had talked about we're going to touch on the whole weekend here because, obviously this isn't a normal Friday NBA rundown. Usually we're giving picks, we're giving takes, we're taking sides and giving out plays, and today we're definitely taking it easy. So maybe just a quick preview of some of the interesting games for the weekend. The first one I asked you about, Tyler, because this is your favorite team, the Hornets and the Knicks. I think the Knicks will be about -6 here. Do you think they get it done, and would you play them at the number of -6 that my model says it should be?
I think they do. I mean, that Hornets team's looked bad recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, depending on what else happens, I mean, this Knicks team could still pop their way into the 4 seed and get home court advantage. So, I mean, that game could really mean something for them tomorrow. Okay. So I'd be willing to lay that 6 with them.
All right. What do you think, AP? Do you think the Knicks will get it done against the Hornets tomorrow?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I haven't bet a ton of Knicks games. I would have to agree. Like, I'd probably stay away from me, but I get it.
All right. Greg Russo said we had all losers yesterday. Did he not hear the heat that we gave out? Man, Greg, and that's your official segment. That's a little disappointing, Greg. Let's see, another one we want to talk about tomorrow. I mean, we're not really going to cap it, but just so everybody knows, it says that the big three of the Nets will play tomorrow against the Bulls. That'll probably be the Bulls' elimination. Lakers, Pacers tomorrow. That would be for the Lakers to stay alive to avoid the play-in. I'm thinking the line's going to be Pacers +8. And Tyler and I think that we'll get some Anthony Davis, maybe no LeBron James. AP, if that line came out, Lakers -8 in Indiana with AD playing no LeBron, how would you approach it?
I mean, I'm trying to think of who will be available for the Pacers. Like it depends. Like, is Sabonis going to play?
I would expect
tough to answer right now.
I would say Sabonis plays, but Brogdon and Lamb are still out on that number of 8 that I gave.
I mean, the thing about the Lakers right now is they can still get in with wins. They can get into the playoffs and not the play-in spot, right? Or are they locked into the play-in?
No. They need 2 wins and they need a Portland loss or 2 Dallas losses, but Dallas isn't losing to Orlando tonight.
I would back the Lakers.
I mean Toronto.
AD is going to have very little resistance against this Pacers team right now, and the one thing that they're going to do very well right now is play good defense. So I think they're going to limit buckets on the Pacers side and get enough buckets. Obviously to get the win, but potentially cover the spread here as well.
They got help coming on that defensive side too. Schroeder cleared health and safety protocols. Game time decision for tomorrow.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be huge too.
That might even move that line to double digits if that's the case, and Brogdon and Lamb still sit. And then the main event for tomorrow night, we got to get your thoughts on this. Model says it's going to come out to 4.5. I actually trust that number because I don't think we're going to get wacky injury news in this one. And that's the prime time tomorrow night. Miami Heat travel to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks in a rematch of the series in which they eliminated the Bucks last year. I think Milwaukee will lay 4.5 here. Miami coming off that fantastic performance against Philly. At that number of 4.5, who would you like, AP?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a coach in this spot, and if you're Miami, I mean, you don't mind losing that game because you got them in the playoffs last year. And the Bucks do this all the time, where regular season they just stomp these teams, look good, and then when the pressure's on, because neither team really has much they're playing for. When the pressure's on, they tend to falter. So tough spot. I mean, God, I'm trying to think what the Heat just did. They just
smashed Philly last night. They smashed.
Yeah, and they're playing so good right now.
They've been on a roll.
I would probably back the Heat here. They're starting to play playoff type basketball. They're not gonna. Spoelstra's not gonna mess around. He's gonna try to get them ready. They're probably one of the healthier teams too in the league, right? I mean, all their guys should be rested. I mean they haven't been healthy all season, which means their guys are getting rested, getting ready for this time right now. So I think they're one of the more interesting playoff teams in the East for sure.
Yeah, and while Miami knows they can beat the Bucks, I still think they'd rather play someone like Atlanta or New York in the first round. Tyler, at a +4.5 number, do you like the Miami Heat as well?
Oh yeah, I love Miami in that spot. I'd even take them on the money line. I mean, this Bucks team just seems like a bad matchup for them. I mean, we seen it last year in the playoffs. They just leave these guys open for 3. They kept doing it this year. The couple times they played Miami, except for that first game when they came out and stomped them by about 50. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I love the Heat in that spot. And I mean, they can technically still win their division and jump to the 4 seed because they could jump Atlanta.
like the one thing to add on there, Tyler, is Bam is a guy that can definitely defend Giannis one-on-one. Like
Yep.
he
That's
can take him
another big
one-on-one,
thing.
which what that does is it helps, because what the Bucks are trying to do is get kickouts, or get Giannis to the bucket. And if you can take him one-on-one, it's putting pressure on everyone else on that team. That's
And
when
you
they
don't
struggle.
have to sacrifice offense to build the wall to stop them from getting to the hoop, which I think is going to be a big problem for the Nets.
Yeah. All right.
True. But the Nets can outscore them. I mean, that's.
So the panel is going to like Miami tomorrow night for the big showdown. And then let's just take a quick look at Sunday. Obviously, the main game on Sunday will be it's going to be at 12:30 for me, 3:30 for you guys. It will be the Warriors and the Grizzlies. It's in Golden State. Everybody's resting today because of this big showdown. It will determine who is 8th and who is 9th in the play-in tournament. I have this lined as Warriors -3.5. AP, what would you think on that number? I think I would like the Warriors on that number. Maybe they'll open it a little higher.
Man, that's a good question. The Grizzlies are kind of rolling right now. They've played, mind you, they've played the Raptors, Pelicans, Kings. One very good win over the Mavericks in there. I'm trying to see. Do you know how they fared regular season? Do you have their splits with the Warriors?
They're 1-1 against each other, so that's why the tiebreak comes up on Sunday. And I can't remember what the scores were or even when the games were. I looked up all the tiebreaks between all the teams to find out all the scenarios. Yeah. And it's almost starting to mix together. I'm like, I know I already looked this up. Wait, who's this tiebreak between?
The Warriors coming off a nice win against the Suns, Thunder. Both teams are rolling right. It's going to be a really interesting game. I don't have a strong opinion. I wish I did, but I don't.
All right, Tyler, would you think you're going to be getting involved in this game? And if they did post that number that I gave out at 3.5, who would you like?
I mean, it's tough because that Memphis team is like very grit and grind.
Yeah.
And I mean, they could bump Steph around, and then all of a sudden that jumper's not falling, and then Golden State looks like they're in a bad spot.
Yeah,
I would want to see what that total opens up at, because if it's anywhere above like 225, I'd probably go under.
Like 228, 230.
Yeah, I'd probably go under there because I think you get
I think it'll be pretty high. Memphis has been trending as an over team over the last month, and we know the Warriors can put it up, and we know it's a primetime game. It should attract the most public money. And I'm thinking that would shade the money to the over as well. One thing in Memphis' favor as well, we talked about what's their weakness. They struggle against big teams. The Warriors are definitely not a big team, right? They're going to be able to get out and run. Memphis is not going to feel outsized. Jaren Jackson's going to look like a stud out there. That's going to be a great game. I think I would lean towards the Warriors at the 3.5 number that my model spits out. We'll see if they make it a little higher. And then are we just expecting Denver to completely tank that game against Portland?
Yeah, I mean, do they really want to move up in the seeding if the Lakers win?
First of all, the Clippers aren't losing, I don't think. Yeah. I think they play whoever we did tonight, and then they play the Thunder.
They play, so they play Toronto and then the Thunder. So
yeah,
2 gimme games.
Well, that's why my favorite bet today is the Rockets. The Rockets side. Like if there's a game to lose, it would be tonight to Kelly Olynyk and these guys who are trying. Yeah. And then because I don't care who they throw out there, they're not losing to the Thunder.
Definitely. Speaking of Kelly Olynyk, don't you think the Heat regret trading him now for 3 games of Oladipo?
Yeah,
I mean they could have used him right in that rotation. Yeah. All right, so that wraps up the whole weekend. This wasn't just the NBA rundown for today. It was the weekend rundown. That will get us going into the playoffs. So we'll be off tomorrow. We will be back on Tuesday morning. I probably have Mangone and JSU then, and we will be doing a play-in preview, and we'll do Tuesday's games and Wednesday's games because, number one, I should have lines for all the games, and number two, the injury reports should be nice, they should be honest, they should be easy to interpret. So with that being said, everybody, thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and even though it's not necessarily the easiest day to do it, we're still going to give out best bets. AP, we'll start with you. Best bet, side total, or prop, and I'll let you go ahead. If you don't want to attack today, you can attack some of my created lines over the weekend too if you want to give those out.
Yeah, I'm going to lock in the Rockets. Rockets plus 10. All
right, let's do it. we got the Rockets plus 10. Tyler, do you want to check real quick and let me know why the Cavaliers went off the board and why the Sixers went off the board?
Well, the Cavaliers probably went off the board because of the Kevin Love news.
Okay. To
The
me, that
seven-
doesn't even move the line, so that's whatever.
That's true.
Philly, nothing changed as far as my screen.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything for Philly outside of the news we already had.
All right, Tyler, did you want to go for a best bet today? Like I said, today's the only day of the whole NBA season. I'll make them optional though. So
I'm passing on today. I can't put my finger on anything and click the button.
I think that's perfectly fair. These games are all so tough. You know, I mean, I kind of like the Wizards, but you guys made a great point there on why the Cavaliers could match up well. We talked about the Jazz minus 14.5 seems like a good number. Also seems like I'm forcing it because I don't know how the third quarter would go. But of all my favorites, that's my favorite. Nuggets, Pistons, don't want to get involved at all. I'll bet you that 8.5 drops to like 2 when all the news comes out, though. I guess you get a little CLV there. If I were to give a best bet, I would say the over in the Cavaliers and the Wizards. I think that these guys will score and get it done. So our 2 plays today are the Rockets plus 10 and the over in the Cavaliers and the Wizards. Tough slate, guys, but thanks for hanging out and navigating it through with me, right? And we're here to give some advice, and sometimes the advice is to definitely tread carefully. So, AP, do you want to let everyone know what's going on over at Run Pure Sports over the weekend?
Yeah, I think we got a nice MMA card, right? Usually they're pretty nice on the weekends.
Yeah, great card.
Who's fighting?
Oliveira. Who's Oliveira fighting, Tyler?
Charles Oliveira's fighting Michael Chandler, and Ferguson's fighting Dariush in the co-main.
Oh, that's even better than the main. Yeah.
We have oh, go ahead.
I was just say, so we'll have the show with Title in the morning, right?
Yep. Yeah, and then we got a lot of baseball slates, and we have the monster NBA slate on Sunday, 15 games, everyone's playing. Big slate tomorrow, big slate tonight. It's going to be a fun weekend. PGA wrapping up. We're going to be getting you guys ready for the PGA Championship coming up next week. A lot of good stuff over here.
And what's the promo code if they're not involved right now and they want to go ahead and join?
RPS Heater 25.
Right.
That's going to get you 25% off your first payment with whatever option that you choose.
Excellent. And on Sunday, will there be a Hardwood Live? Are you guys going to try and attack that 15-game card with the live show? And if so, what time is it going live?
I mean, I'm not sure because I want to see what DraftKings does with this slate because we have so many games firing right at noon, 1 o'clock Eastern, I believe. And so playbook will be up. It's all going to depend on what DraftKings decides to do with their main slate.
All right. So stay tuned to that. Obviously, if you're following the Run Pure Sports Twitter handle, they will keep you updated if they decide to go. And hey, just like today, even though there might not be a lot for gambling, for just being an NBA fan or playoff implications, I think these are going to be great days for DFS. So I can't wait to watch some Hardwood Live with you guys tonight. Like I said, I think that's where all the edges are going to be found, investing your money in these markets today. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out. We will be back Tuesday for the Run Pure Bets members. We will have plays in the Discord. Tyler will probably have some props once we get some news. He just doesn't want to give out a faulty prop and a faulty line lacking the information. But once we're clear on who's in, who's out, stay tuned to that Discord because he will definitely be dropping some plays in there. I will be on Keg Live tonight, which will be for the subscribers. Unfortunately, the slate didn't turn out because when we originally scheduled the show, if things had turned out differently this week, there could have been some games with implications tonight. That didn't really turn out. I don't know how many live bets I'll be giving out, but we will be, and this is the full transparency. I don't really love this card, but we'll be hanging out, talking sports, getting ready for the weekend, getting ready for the UFC. Always NFL talk manages to creep in there with the schedule release. We'll have some fun new topics. So a great time to be a member of Run Pure Bets. I would do both. use the promo code GetBets when you sign up for Run Pure Sports. You'll get the bet side for free for the first month, and then you'll know what the great value we provide, and you'll be able to continue along as a member of the Run Pure Sports team. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for hanging out, AP. Tyler, enjoy your well-deserved Saturday off. Usually we're on Saturdays, but we're going to take tomorrow off. We will be back Tuesday, ready to attack the play-ins and willing to say goodbye to these injury reports, right? We're going to know who's going to play, and it's going to be fantastic. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out, and Run Pure.